Since 2005, the series that debuted Yoko Taro as a director went absent. That was until 5 years later with the release of Nier, a game that's connected to the Drakengard universe. I'm not here to talk about that right now though, rather the final named Drakengard title released in 2013 for the PS3, Drakengard 3. Although it's the last and most recent Drakengard game, it's a prequel, taking place about 100 years before the events of the original. I just want to give a quick content warning. Drakengard 3 covers many dark subjects that some viewers may find uncomfortable, so viewer discretion is advised. I'd really suggest to do your research if you're not familiar with the game and its contents, and decide if continuing with this video is right for you. I also want to mention I'm playing this on an emulator. I do own a PS3 with Drakengard 3 and its DLC, but as I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm not sure where my capture card is right now, so I recorded this on an emulator. I got it stable for the most part, but for some reason, audio kept cutting in and out of cutscene dialogue. In-game dialogue worked absolutely fine, but for whatever reason, specifically like character dialogue kept cutting in and out. The music would play just fine, but characters would get cut off at random points. So I've taken a video of all cutscenes, so I want to give credit to BuffMaister. I'm not sure how you pronounce their name, I do apologize. But I did pull that video from their channel, so please go check out their stuff as well, and thank you for letting me use the footage. On with the video. The game begins with the telling of a legend, of a group of siblings who are called intoners, beings who have supposedly descended and brought peace to the world through the power of their songs, only for the man telling the tale to be quite rudely interrupted by a woman, one of the intoners' story spoke of. This is our protagonist, Zero, along with her dragon companion, Michael. She's out to kill the intoners, her own sisters. We get a tutorial after this. Square is a light attack, triangle is a heavy that costs some stamina to use, circle is a block, L1 is the lock-on, and R1 is dodge. Pressing L3 and R3 together activates Intoner mode, basically a super form. Think Devil Trigger or Wicked Weaves for those who have played Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. We get a mini-boss with the other intoners, Zero's sisters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is followed by a quick bout with their dragon, Gabriel. Things don't go too well for Zero though, losing her arm and Michael in the process. Cut to 1 year later, and Zero seems to have semi-frequent nightmares over the loss of Michael, a flower also growing in place of her right eye. After the very essential dragon pissing scene, it's established Michael is reincarnated into this new form, Mikhail, a clearly immature dragon with no memories of his past self. Treasure chests can be found in the world that contain extra weapons, money and materials to upgrade weapons as well. You can call Mikhail in at designated spots. There's also weapon shops that you can buy more items from after missions. Zero seems even colder than she was before, very matter-of-fact and dismissive of mostly anything that Mikhail has to say. The little banter the soldiers have helps keep the levels to feel more lively though, and they did get me a few times. Accord, the name of the shopkeeper, gives side quests that you can access from the chapter menu after main missions. After travelling through the Land of Seas, we meet up with 5. She's permanently horny on main. Her and her disciple, Dito, summon an angel via her song, and I really like how the theme integrates with the intoner's song.
Behold, the 5th song, grand light of antiquity, the great power made manifest, the ceremony of glorious arrival. Burn into thine eyes the punishing lance of divine retribution. summon thee in my name! Vanuel, arise!
We need to slam Thanuel out of the water and then go to town on him. 5. Simmer. The dragon controls are decent, you need to tap X to keep him airborne, square is a fireball, and triangle is either a tackle in the air or a longer fire breath attack on the ground, as well as circle doing a spin attack on foot. And R1 still serves as the dodge. After all that, 5 seems to get back up for more, only to be cut down by Ditto, who seems to have secretly hated her for some time now. He joins Zero and Mikhail, and we're given a new equipable weapon besides swords, the spear. We advance to the land of mountains to chase after 4. The spears works best for shield-type enemies, though the charge move they have is still pretty annoying. We get to see exactly how Zero recovers from her injuries. When her life is at risk, she regenerates via a flower from the affected wound, a new version of herself climbing out. As a fun fact, the prosthetic arm that she has is attached via a parasite, so that's cool. Zero says something really interesting about 4 here.
What?
What kind of sister is 4?
The sleazy kind.
Sleazy? You mean she's slutty like 5?
Not quite like that, no. She acts all sugary sweet on the surface, but deep down, she's evil. I mean, you kinda have to be evil to be a virgin in Tona.
Huh? What's a virgin?
Never mind that.
So you really can't get along with her?
Really, I can't deal with virgins.
You can't deal with virgins?
No, I can't. Now drop it.
And this is something that doesn't really get payoff until the goddamn DLC, but that's obviously for later. There's variations on the dragon combat, one where you fight mainly grounded enemies, and these are a real fun power trip. A consistent theme seems to be Mikhail being the most humane in the group, despite being called a beast multiple times, and obviously being a dragon, and this is something they did to a lesser degree with Angelus in Drakengard 1. There's a new enemy type, spirits, that can possess dead bodies. This just means you have to beat them some more for the spirit to come out, and then you can kill them. Honestly, I'm not really a fan, since it just results in more busy work. I really like how, although she's arguably the most focused out of the group, sometimes Zero's just so fixed on a goal she just completely lacks common sense, best shown here.
What?
I don't think it's such a good idea to yell around here.
What? You scared? Figures. You disciples are more chicken shit than I thought.
No, that's not what I...
I'll say when this ends.
General combat is much more enjoyable than the previous games. That and the stages are quite a bit shorter, which means that the gameplay loop doesn't wear out its welcome as quickly. There's also purely aerial combat, reminiscent, but more on rails compared to the dragon sections of the previous games. Think something like Star Fox or Sin and Punishment as an example. We also learn here that Mikhail really hates wyverns for some reason. I don't know why, it's never explained. Zero finally catches up to 4, who had fled via airship. She tries to talk the former down, summoning her angel when that inevitably fails. Armoros takes the form of this giant battleship, with Mikhail having to take out its cannons and cores within the time limit. Afterwards we get this really funny scene that takes the piss out of the split personality trope seen in a lot of media.
Don't come out! Not now! Where am I?
Zero?
4? Why am I... What's going on? Where are we?
Zero! You're here! You came back!
Thanks for the info.
No, I thought you were back.
I can't believe you fell for that bullshit! You honestly thought I'd have a split personality? Stupid son of a bitch!
Four's defeat gives us quite a lot. Her airship, a new form for Mikhail, and a new disciple in Decadus, along with his weapon style, the combat bracers. They mention a key, implying you'll be rewarded if you find it, but it's a piss take since the airship is shot down right after you get it. Zero goes on a rampage in the Land of Forest chasing after 3 and taking care of the mooks who blew up our ship, which got a laugh out of me admittedly.
And now you're going to die!
It would appear Lady Zero was very much looking forward to airship travel.
Seems like it. Help me!
Oh, you're way past help, jackass. You bust up my airship, and now you want help?
Well, technically it wasn't your airship exactly.
There's a new enemy variant in the Undead. Skeleton dudes, you need to smack them a few times after going down to permakill them. Speaking of, Decadus is a permagooner. Anything relating to pain and he's just on the verge of nutting. These little fairies tease Zero about finding Mikhail and she just crushes them with no hesitation. We find and free Mikhail from some vines, but I was not expecting the fairies to be this brutal, holy moly.
Sure did. That stupid dragon is in a big old stupidness just up ahead. And jeez, is he ever stupid. He's so stupid he can't find his own tail with 4 paws in his mouth.
Right, yeah. Stupid. Like you.
Yeah, stupid. Just like... Hey, you go first. Screw you, lady. No way. Dirty little deviant frog intoners. You go to hell, Jimmy. You go to hell.
What's the point? Again? Where are these pests coming from?
Hey, pretty boy. You're gonna be seriously ugly when you time to grow up. Why don't you just kill yourself now and save us the trouble of looking at you? And you, flower lady, nice outfit. Was that a birthday present from your pants or what? Talk about being an attention whore. Shit. Guess makes sense that an insecure loser like you would try to compensate by dressing like this.
That's it. Fuck back.
Deserve to be honest. Octa certainly makes a strong first impression by starring in my favourite cutscene in the entire game.
For you! I surrender.
You what?
I surrender. I came here because I want to join your cause.
Well, hey, guys, this is great! If he wants to be our friend, we don't have to fight or anything.
Well spoken, my winged friend.
Shit.
Sure. Whatever.
Not so much
A new disciple means a new weapon, the chakrons, I think that's how you say it. And since you can only have 2 disciples active in levels at a time, you need to choose who you bring now. After some genuinely pointless riddles by 3, we get the completely essential dragon shit scene. Before we make it to 3's hiding place, a giant tree. The setting inside is pretty dope, and after freeing Mikhail again after he fell in a river and got stuck inside the tree earlier, we finally see 3 in person. She clearly doesn't give a shit about Octa anymore, sticking her new experiments on the group. She forces Octa to summon their angel through their song, Our Missile, these weird porcelain-looking baby doll things that remind me heavily of the Watchers from Drakengard 1. Mikhail mentions feeling weird about the intoners, 3 in particular, and I thought they were setting up for like another horny joke, but no, it's actually setting up the reason why Zero needs him with her in her mission to kill her sisters in the first place. But before we can see why, he eats 3 and is then kidnapped by Sent, the disciple of 2. From what I can remember, this is the first time Zero has shown any signs of real concern for his well-being.
Mikhail.
We now enter the Land of Sands with 3 new enemy types, wolves which are annoying as fuck, horse-mounted knights, and golems which serve as the end-level boss guarding Mikhail. Sent arrives to gloat, which seems to be a shtick, but alludes to Mikhail being part of Zero's downfall. We explore the underground ruins, and I've heard some nightmare stories about the platforming sections, but I honestly found them absolutely fine. Also, the game's got wizards now. I don't really like them. They play a big part in the following mission, amplifying the desert heat to drain health until you duck into shade. True, the shade does restore your health, but it's still a fucking tedious gimmick in my opinion. Something this game does that I think is executed more effectively than even the original Drakengard at points is the feeling you're slaughtering countless people that never stood a chance. True, sometimes the dialogue they have is played for laughs, but it can be extremely sobering when it wants to be. It's probably emphasized best in this level, especially paired with the music.
Get me off the front line! Hang in there. If we die together.
All right, milady.
Sent appears to be running the show to an extent for a change, with 2 being mentally destroyed, and Sent having to coax her into summoning their angel, Grigori. You have to tackle into them to slam their armor off and then shoot fireballs at them, as tackling them once the armor is gone just makes you pass right through them. After all that, Mikhail absolutely obliterates 2, resulting in Sent joining the party. Apparently he just wants to be with an intoner, which one doesn't matter to him, although this is something we'll touch on later as well.
I'm just a big idiot, right?
This little interaction between Mikhail and Zero really made me think for a moment.
We've killed a lot of people now, you know?
And?
Well, when I try to sleep, sometimes I can still hear them screaming. Do you, Zero? Do you hear them scream?
No, I don't.
Wow, Zero. You sure are strong.
Mikhail's obviously much more emotionally open and sympathetic, and Zero just shuts it out completely. In a twist, 1 takes the fight straight to us on the dragon we fought at the start of the game, Gabriel. We learn she's managed to shift it into a demon with an E, explaining why it's so feral, and that 1 is the only intoner with no disciple to call her own. I love that Sent's dialogue quirk is just gaslighting people.
Don't worry about me! You take that black piece of shit!
What the hell?
Whoa, Zero, you're gonna get cancelled on Twitter.com! Don't do that! We get a new enemy in Imps, mainly airborne fellas that can be a bit of a pain in the arse to hit, but they're pretty inoffensive. Just before we confront 1 again, Zero reveals that the party won't be able to retain their forms for long without an intoner, and turns them all into their true forms, doves. You know, they're all just doves.
Goodbye.
Before she proceeds on. 1 and Zero are set to fight in this cathedral, with 1 questioning the existence of magic, and her and her sisters by extension, only for Zero to reply that it's pointless to think about before Mikhail and Gabriel engage in battle. This fight was definitely the hardest so far. I wasn't really sure what strat to use other than just going ham with intoner mode, to be honest. Zero and Mikhail are on their last legs, but Mikhail uses his wish to finish Gabriel, whereas Zero is desperate for him to reincarnate, even using his name earnestly. However, Mikhail is dead set on this. Instead of reincarnating with his wish like most dragons do, he gives his life to greatly weaken Gabriel and 1, with Zero carrying on to finish the job, and the raw fucking emotion that Zero gives off here. She wanted Mikhail to live on after everything, and she's pissed at what 1 has done. That rage being what she needed to defeat the pair.
Mikhail, why wasn't it me? Mikhail. Mikhail still had a future. Damn it! God damn it all!
Zero turns to face her fallen dragon, only to be stabbed in the back by 1?
Brother.
A male one. He was created by the original in case anything happened to her, his sword being made from the fang of a dragon, meaning that it's lethal to intoners. Zero included, obviously. But she was fully set on dying after she finished her mission anyway, lying beside Mikhail, who she thanks before passing. Brother 1, at a loss to what to do without his sibling, wanders off, going on to create a religion in honor of his sister. And if the design of the pair and the blood-stained outfit look familiar to you, then you'd be correct, as he goes on to form the Cult of the Watchers, their symbol even looking like brother and sister's once heads smushed up together. This ends Branch A on this eerie credit sequence, piano keys softly playing in the background. This route is where I believe the timeline progresses to Drakengard 1. As I mentioned before, Drakengard 3 is a prequel for the entire series, but it could also lead into Drakengard 1.3 or Dragon Dragoon 1.3, which is, from what I believe, because I haven't finished reading it yet, a novel that was made using ideas of a scrap Drakengard 1 remake, but I want to keep kind of media outside the main games, well, discussing media outside of the main games to a minimum. Also, I have this headcanon that what we're hearing are the child versions of Kaim, Inuart, and Furiare playing together as best friends before the events that would tear them and the world apart. Or perhaps maybe Mana and Seri, given how similar they look to 1, but given Mana's history, I think that the former is much more likely. After the credits roll, a woman rocks up stating that she knew how things would end, and that things should have turned out differently. This is Accord, the until now unseen shopkeeper and narrator. We'll find out more about her in these different events since the next branch has opened up, so let's go check out Branch B. The loading screens now show things like lore tidbits rather than the controls, and even things like the definition of a sister. Accord explains that Zero is a singularity, meaning that she can create branches within timelines. We start off in the Land of Forest with all the disciples in tow, though Sent has no knowledge of 2 here, but I'm pretty sure based off lines by Decadus that the rest do remember their intoners, and the timeline plays out in the same way up to finding 3. There's a new enemy type in Necromancers, and it seems they behave exactly the same as the wizards, like I really couldn't notice a difference. The gang take out the Armacell dolls created by 3, who can seemingly tell something's off with the current situation, to which Zero just shrugs, and I don't know why it tickles me, I think it's a facial expression that really makes me laugh. Deeper into the forest, Zero gets fucking jumped, to the extent of her injuries causing Mikhail to step in and save her. The disciples even consider making a run for it, but this isn't enough to kill her. But that combined with her regeneration just goes to show how strong the flower truly is. In the next level, we have to destroy these statues of 3, and part of me was wondering if her little poems had any sort of meaning, but nah, after research, I'm pretty sure it's just Schizo Bowel. After all that, we get to 3 herself. Apparently she invited 1 to the forest to kill her. Why she did this is unknown, but 3 ended up being the one beaten instead. Very weird. We find 1 much sooner than expected, impaled on a lance beside 2 dancing around her. Dido goes in for the kill, only to be struck down by Sent, his memories of her seeming to have returned. We get a boss fight with the pair, and one dope detail is if you go into Intona mode, so does she. During the fight, everyone bar Zero and Mikhail are mortally wounded, and the pair summon their angel, Raphael, a spider-looking entity, different from the one from Branch A, in their last breaths. You need to dodge while they spew poison, then tackle, then dodge their web and tackle again to top it over before spamming fireballs. The poison proves to be too much for Mikhail, but Zero manages to forge what I believe is the very first pact in the timeline, giving up her life in exchange for this. Mikhail soon wakes up, the flower now in his eye in place of Zero's, and what seems to be a child form of her consciousness seeming to be inside him. This ends Branch B, with Accord being unsure of how this will affect the future, and Branch C being unlocked. In this branch, apparently 2 has put some sort of magical influence over Mikhail. We start in the Land of Sands at night time, and like the characters, I thought this meant no health sapping gimmick. But no, it's now so cold that you need to stick by torches to reclaim health. Mikhail gets worse and worse until he's overtaken by this black mist. It turns out 2 actually put a curse on him, reverting him to an earlier form. But there's no sight of her in the Land of Sands, so the group heads to Cathedral City. As they progress, we can see Accord spying on them to study what exactly is going on in this particular branch, since it seems to be especially bizarre.
A branch this strange merits very careful study.
It's clear all the soldiers have completely lost their minds, only being able to babble incoherently. This, combined with the background music, makes for quite the melancholic scene. It reminds me of when you have to fight Inuad in Drakengard 1, actually. We find 2, who's clearly not all there mentally either, and engage her in battle. As Zero says, she's been consumed by the power of her song.
She's been consumed by her song.
She gets stabbed in the back by Dido, and held in place by the others in front of Cent. She attempts to communicate with him, but Cent finishes her off, thinking she's too far gone. This was a trap though, as she kills all the disciples and herself with them. This doesn't cure Mikhail, leaving Zero on the warpath for 1. She cuts a path into her room to find her reading. This bitch always be reading, doesn't she? She spells out Zero's MO. The flower in her eye will end the world, the intoners having stemmed from its power, which is why Zero set out to kill them, and have Mikhail finish her after the job is done. But I'll get more into the details of that later. 1 summons Abdiel, essentially 3 golems. You have to break the one who holds its core and attack when it's exposed. It's a pretty frustrating fight since it's easy to get hit stunned. Mikhail does defeat it along with Gabriel, but dies in the process, leaving 0 and 1 to fight it out, the latter having some choice words for her sister, and it goes hard.
If you think you're the only one suffering here, you're out of your goddamn mind. 2, 3, 4, 5. You gave life to each and every one of them. Then you went and killed them all. What did you expect? Cursing the world, then saving the world. You thought you could do everything by yourself? Well, this is what you fucking get! You're the one who should be erased, Zero! Shut up! Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up!
You killed Mikhail.
You killed Mikhail! Because he was your sword, Zero! You're a cursed intoner! You're going to destroy the world!
No, I'm...
Die!
With her dragon dead and her body on the edge of collapse, Zero snaps. She stumbles off, laughing and vomiting all the while, saying there's still time to find a new dragon, ending Branch C with the return of a familiar song, Growing Wings, the theme of the original game. Accord ends things off, stating that this timeline has very little hope of saving, and thus seals it off to prevent any further damage.
I recommend sealing off this branch. M5120, E0945, FL, end recording.
After finishing Branch C, we get access to the Lost Verses. These are side stories that Accord has misplaced, dotted around various branches. The first is in Branch A. The group return to Zero's hideaway at the Land of Seas, as there's something she forgot that she needs to collect. As much as I get the whole point of the cast is that they're all bad people who don't get along, seeing them banter and kinda nag at Zero to make them a home-cooked meal was kind of amusing and kinda wholesome in a weird way.
Accord.
Zero tries to get some answers out of Accord, who she actually came to meet, but when she only gets cryptic warnings, Zero pulls her go-to response: murder. But Accord brushes it off like it's nothing before taking her leave. The next takes place in Branch B, where the group go back to the mountains based off something Sent informed them of whilst pursuing 3. He says there's delicious fruit hidden in a chest up here, except it's trash, more trash, and literally nothing. The disciples and Mikhail passed out, exhausted and hungry, but Zero can't sleep, leading to this encounter with Accord.
Nope. Sorry.
I don't know what giving advice has to do with honking milkers, but go off, Queen. Accord explains that she was made purely to record events, but she genuinely wants to help wherever she can. In the next Lost verse, we get a flashback of Zero and Michael kicking ass. Reading between the lines, Michael is likely asking Zero if she's sure about dying, to which Zero confirms with no hesitation. She soon wakes up from her dream next to Accord, who offers to take over in Zero's mission, but she's adamant that since she started everything, she's going to be the one to end it. Zero threatens to kill Accord if she gets in her way, but Accord responds back completely unfazed that the same is true for her. With the Lost verses now established, Branch D is now unlocked. That's a lie, because before you're able to access Branch D, you have to collect every weapon in the game. So before we get onto it, I want to discuss the DLC. These are extra campaigns that revolve around the Intoners, being able to play as them in their own missions, starting with 5 in Ditto. I really like the pop-up book style that the DLC cutscenes go for. It's also funny how 5 is almost permanently off in her own little world, so that's why she has no idea about Ditto's hatred of her. As I guessed from the main game, each Intoner specialises around a certain weapon type, 5's being the spear. All of the DLC takes place before the events of the main game. Most revolve around taking the lands back from the warlords that had been mentioned briefly, but this is greatly expanded upon in the Utahime 5 manga. But like I mentioned about the 1.3 novel of Drakengard 1, I want to keep outside material to a minimum since I haven't finished them yet. When beating their levels, you unlock memories of the Intoners, little lore tidbits that tell you more about their character. With no luck on our hunt for meat, the actual eating kind, not the other kind. I mean, it is 5, so I do have to differentiate. She sets off to the land of mountains to find mushrooms. And this little bit got a chuckle from me, like, Ditto saying fuck is where 5 draws the line, but she says this a few minutes before.
Wouldn't you rather be skewered than by a rusty old sword?
In a surprise, we get to meet Gabriel before their demonic transformation, Gabriella, who can speak perfectly fine. She's been asked by one to check on the pair, and boy does she have a mouth on her. I actually really enjoy her banter. 5's on the hunt for underwater treasure now, and as a little side note, I always thought it was a great sword that 5 used, but no, it's a big old spear. They eventually come across the treasure in question, a big juicy crab. That's literally the name of the boss. I haven't come up with that. Ditto becoming majorly invested on merely the idea of the creature rotting. And with how they both react to it, it reveals that Ditto and 5 are way more similar than he would like to admit. The DLC ends with them cooking and eating it on the spot with some extremely uncomfortable noises.
So yummy. So yummy. So yummy. So yummy.
Her memories begin with frankly mental orders of various items, but soon shift to questions like, what is beauty, what is humanity, and what is happiness, showing that beyond her kind of endless appetite for various things, 5 does have a genuine curiosity for the world around her. On to 4. Her and Decadus are taking out stragglers from one of the Warlord's armies, with her weapon of choice being the braces. I kinda got this vibe from her in the main game, and if you remember back to the start of the video, I mentioned it way earlier, but it's extremely evident that she's the type of person to put on airs of being much kinder and compassionate than she actually is. Her memories are just her stating things she hates about her sisters. It's explained in the next mission dragons can see the hearts of others, and 4's is full of holes, alluding to the emptiness of her supposedly noble nature and kind words. Based on her thoughts about 5, she's clearly extremely insecure. It's telling her memories are the split second before she's killed by Zero, and it's all focused on her sister's perceived shortcomings compared to her. Oh my word, 4 literally calls 3 out as an I can fix her type woman, and in comparison, she's a nice girl and not like all the others. This game was kind of ahead of its time, man. Her DLC ends with her chasing some elven pirates, literally a fraction of a force retreating, where her true colours are on full display. She sees anything non-human as free game to slaughter. That's right, she's a racist. Speciesist? There's probably all the ists, to be fair. I mean, look at her. I think it's quite telling that you never see the elves, you only hear their cries for help, and all you know is just that they're begging for their lives, and 4 doesn't just ignore it, she actively mocks them the entire time.
After all, they weren't civilians. After all, they weren't human.
Next is 3, and I gotta say, the way she stomps around is hilarious to me. Her weapons are her scissors, and I think they have a light sword moveset, but I'm not quite sure. Her levels are all gauntlets of her destroying failed experiments, and the way she goes on and on about the details of them and not picking up, Octa thought it was weird she named 2 of them literally piss and shit in Spanish, and just figured he didn't hear. Her memories are actually that of a normal soldier who chose to serve her after their warlord was overthrown, initially happy to have her as their leader, until over time her thirst for experiments gets stronger, resulting in this poor individual being turned into a cyclops barely capable of making coherent thoughts. Her hyperfixations culminates into experimentation on humans, creating more and more grotesque creatures and clear suffering in order to provide one with more infantry. This being the catalyst of why Octa abandons her in the main story. That and no poon.
Nothing could stop her. The elderly man silently excused himself from the room. He chided himself for his impotence, as he mourned for his now broken intoner.
On to 2. In a refreshing twist, she starts off joyously in love with Scent, with the pair genuinely caring for one another. She's one of the few characters in Drakengard 3 that's objectively just a good person who wants the best for the people around her. Her memories reflect this, purely being about food that she makes for the others, up to a point. She plays quite similarly to Zero's base moveset, but hits a little harder. She even opens up an orphanage to take care of children and vulnerable people who've lost everything from the fallout of the war. After taking care of some remaining enemy forces, they're called back to Cathedral City due to an emergency. Scent mentioned earlier that he borrowed the power of 2 Song to enhance the soldiers whilst they were gone, and that's what has caused all this. Unable to handle the power, they shamble about, attacking anything in their way. And hearing 2 blame herself as she's forced to put them out of their misery is absolutely heartbreaking. The pair rush to the orphanage, although Scent used the song on the kids as well, turning them into this crawling homunculus, and it understandably breaks 2.
Those voices. Is that the children?
No! What is that thing? I'm scared, Seth!
It's all right, my lady.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
These aren't your children anymore.
It's a monster!
Why are they screaming? Why are they crying? Why are they calling out to me? If I knew this would happen, I should have.
Look at me, Lady 2. It's me, Sent. I'm right here.
Where are the children? This monster can't be them! I wish I'd never had the power of the song.
This isn't your fault. It's mine. I failed to use your song correctly. We're going to be together forever, all right? I'm not going to let you die. Not like this. It's at the end of the footprints.
Look at my power. What my song did.
Although he had good intentions, Sent messed with something he didn't fully understand, and it resulted in the love of his life losing herself in grief.
Lady 2.
The later memories state 2's in a catatonic state, having to resort to gruel and water to try and get her to consume something. But she ordered Sent earlier not to die on her. That order to live at any cost is, in my belief, the reason why he's so quick to travel with Zero. On to 1 now. As the leader and the only intoner without a disciple, she grows lonely, creating Brother 1 around 3 months beforehand using one of her ribs. Very biblical coded. We begin with them training for Brother 1 to confront Zero, with them both using the chakram weapon. Before going even further back, 1 narrates the purpose of the disciples to quell all desires an intoner may have, but 1 isn't sure why she was born without one or what she truly desires for that matter. It's interesting to see Brother 1 try to navigate on how to act around 1 after having just been born. Something I was thinking about gets answered pretty quickly though. If any of the other intoners knew about Brother 1's existence, but no, according to his sister, the only people he'll ever get to interact with is apparently her and Gabriella, which sounds like quite a lonely existence to me, even as an introvert. 1's memories showed that she does care in her own way, giving 7 important phrases she wants her sister to remember and live by.
Sister? Remember what you told me earlier today about how intoners are charged up sexually? Is that true?
Yes.
Is it true for you?
Yes.
So do you need me to?
No.
Why not?
Why not? Because aren't allowed to.
We need permission just to love?
It's not happening, okay? You'd have to be some kind of crazed maniac to do that.
They enter the forest, which is supposed to provide a trial to strengthen the body and soul, and the pair have to battle a false Zero. It periodically summons clones of itself, having to spot the real one and attack it, indicated by being the most covered in blood. On another note, it's nice to see the genuine friendship between 1 and Gabriella. Makes it sad in retrospect that they're morphed into a feral demon in the main story, and creates further parallels between 1, Gabriella, Mikhail, and Zero. Her memories end with a last heartfelt message. With all her sisters slain, she muses on the corrupting power of the song, and if her own motives weren't pure enough, asking for their forgiveness and that she'll be joining them soon. And last but not least, we've got Zero. This DLC going into more detail on her backstory, so it's no other better time to discuss it.
There was an intoner who was infected by a flower. This intoner had 5 younger sisters. Each of them cursed as well. Fearful of the flower's immense force, the intoner began searching for a dragon strong enough to kill every last intoner.
The first memories that Zero can recall is her mother abusing her. She'd constantly verbally abuse her and whip her back till she lost all sensation. Even at this age, Zero was quite pragmatic though. She reasoned that the only reason why her mother did this is because she was raised in the same way, and given that she was poor, she was seen as just an inconvenience, another mouth to feed. It's never directly stated when exactly this happened, but at a young age, her mother eventually sold her off to a brothel. While there, one of the girls working there gave her the closest thing that she ever had to a real name, Rose, based on the colour of her eyes, with Zero giving her the name Indigo in return. They struck up something of a friendship and tried to escape the brothel in the middle of the night. They both carried a large amount of money that they'd stole and aimed to run off with one of the clients that Indigo knew. However, this turned out to be a cruel trick. The only reason that Zero was asked to come along was so she could carry more money. They ran off without her taking the money that she'd stolen, and Zero was captured and brought back to the brothel. She eventually did escape herself, but she bided her time, escaping later on after killing every single person that was in the brothel. She stole all the money that she could from everyone there before running off, but it wasn't long before she was robbed herself by bandits. After this experience and nearly being sold off again, Zero vowed to only take as much as she physically needed. She eventually made it to a city where she wasn't recognized, and ended up running into a man who she knew from her time in the brothel. She did consider killing him, but for some reason she couldn't bring herself to, and the man suggested that she stayed with him, since she didn't have anywhere to call home, and she took him up on the offer. From what we know, her life there was actually peaceful for a while. It wasn't long before Zero contracted a deadly and very contagious disease, and scared of losing his own life, the man tried to sell her off, but Zero was too quick and killed him. She left the town and began wandering, and while she was wandering, she made a decision to kill anyone whenever she felt like she needed something. And I mean anyone, age, gender, nothing mattered to her. If she needed something, she'd kill the person that had what she needed. This being shown most clearly when she broke into a home for food and killed a family. The eldest daughter asked why she did this, and Zero couldn't give her a reason. She stated it was just a reflex. This went on for a while, but she became quite notorious for her acts, and she was eventually captured by law enforcement. She was placed in a prison cell with 5 other girls, but these girls were arrested for being part of a coup, trying to overthrow the vicious warlords that ruled the land. Zero only got a few lashes, since she was completely unrelated, but the other 5 girls were horrifically tortured. She ended up being the last one remaining, and when her illness finally took her, she began to vomit blood and curled up on the floor, the last thing that she remembered seeing being a beautiful looking flower that sprouted beside her body. It turns out this flower revived her, and this is the very same flower that sprouts from her eye and is one day destined to doom humanity. In combat, she only uses her default sword, which is fine by me, I quite like that moveset. And one detail I've neglected to mention, which I find insanely cool, is when the other sisters go into intoner mode, it has this quiet, almost angelic choir before going into the vocals for the background song, whereas Zero always makes this guttural scream of pain, alluding to only her really knowing the true danger the flower presents. Well, her and one. Also, if I have to destroy one more cube afterwards when she meets up with Michael, they have this aerial combat mission. There's so many cubes, I swear to God. Anyways, Michael takes Zero up to a mountain to test her, to which she's not best pleased about. 2 months pass, and her final test is a battle with Michael himself. It's a pretty fun boss fight, having to smack attacks back at him to create more openings. After some warnings about getting too attached from a cord, it's clear that she very much does care, and the pair can likely relate to each other's loneliness, and it goes a long way to further humanise her character. Her memories are from the perspective of Mikhail, starting with his usual childlike joy at simple things in the world, until the horrors of the world seem to increasingly dampen his spirit. If I had to rank them from least favourite to favourite, I'd say it would go 3, 1, 5, 4, 0, and then 2 was the best DLC. Branch D only opens up after collecting every weapon in the game, like I mentioned before, and this is true to the other Drakengard games. Thankfully, it's not nearly as painful as those other ones. If you're actually paying attention in the levels, you'll collect the vast majority. I only had to backtrack for 2 swords, and because it's easily the hardest in the game to find, Moonfire is in the upper left ruin near the centre of the map. It was a pain in the arse to find. Like my other videos, I'm gonna narrate some of my favourite weapon stories before moving on to Branch D. And as a side note, some weapons are from DLC content and have stories too, and I'll be including these as well. Well, the ones that I like anyway. Zero's Blade. From the moment I was born, there was nothing. That's how I wound up with the name Zero. I tried and failed to find value in my life. Even religion failed me, for I would have sooner fought and killed a god than pray to it. I took lives and felt nothing. I killed without regret. Right? Wrong? Sin? Redemption? I couldn't even work up the urge to care. Like a child, I waited and hoped. Hoped for the moment when this sad shell of a life would finally be over. I really like this. Anyone that gives more insight on an existing character is automatically bumped up to be a big favourite of mine. Saintly Brimstone. The villagers doubted the strange new missionary at first, but soon his charming words and handsome smile won them over, and they welcomed him with open arms. Beauty was power in the village. The beautiful were royalty, while the ugly suffered as slaves. Soon, the scarred and deformed of the villagers begged the missionary for help. Smiling, the missionary raised a hand. In a flash, the ugly villagers were transformed, their faces all identical to his own. And yet, his work was not complete. Soon, every man, woman, and child looked like the missionary, right down to the grin. They no longer cried or grew angry, leaving the village with grim, hollow smiles. This story is just cool. It has a really creepy tone to it. I like it. Morning Thorn. Why did I lose my child? Why did my child have to die? Why must I bear this punishment? All the other children survived. Why did mine perish? Theirs should have died too, every last one of them. No, I mustn't think this way. They are all precious. We must protect my lost child, and all the others too. But this world is chaos and strife. How can we hope to safeguard the children, the precious, precious children? To protect them, I must join them. But there are so many. Wait, I know. I must chew them up. Chew them all. Open my mouth and chew all the pretty babies. I'd never thought I'd hear myself say something like that, Jesus. They really accentuate the babies. I can't do it. This is Ariosh's weapon, and it gives a lot more insight on her character from Drakengard 1. So yeah, I'm surprised that a Drakengard 1 character of all people's getting a weapon with like a lot of her backstory. And it's not DLC, it's just in the game, so it's cool. Kaim's Sword. There was once an awkward prince who found love, politics, and even general interactions difficult. His only comfort was practicing swordplay in the courtyard. After 100 days of practice, he began to feel stronger. As this strength turned into confidence and washed away his anxieties, the prince devoted himself to mastering the sword. After 1,000 days of practice, he forgets the stress of politics and intrigue. Such things brought only lies and betrayal, but his sword never did. After 10,000 days of practice, he realized his sword might free him from all stress if he entrusted everything to it. Alas, he was only running away from his problems. As the name of the sword suggests, this provides more character insight for Kaim, which is cool. I kinda wonder why this is DLC, but Ariosha's isn't, but it's nice that we get the vibe that he's probably happier as a silent protagonist in the events of Drakengard 1, since he doesn't have to talk to people. Furiare's Dagger. I mustn't trouble my brother. He's busy with his sword practice, so I must be a good girl and not bother him to play with me. I mustn't trouble my brother. He's busy with politics, so I must be a good girl and not bother him to talk with me. I mustn't trouble my brother. He's busy fighting other countries, so I must be a good girl and not bother him with my worries. I mustn't trouble my brother. I mustn't let him know of the dark lust hiding in my bosom. If he were to see me like this, I would have to end my own life. So this is the dagger that she used to off herself. Bit mad, bit grim. Two sword. I thought being a pair would allow us to survive. I mean, it was just like my name, you know? We were two then, and we would remain two forever. When we held hands, we connected. I believed we truly had nothing to fear. Our time was meant to be forever. Forever and ever. We were destined to keep this small life of ours secure. I heard the sound of something breaking deep within me. There is no going back. All I hear is the noise slipping slowly away into the onrushing dark. This is sad. This is probably her thoughts when she lost the kids in the orphanage. Like, what? Why can't two have a happy ending, man? Come on. Robber King. She was a prostitute with a habit of falling in love with her customers, but they fled whenever she proposed. This puzzled her, as she was unaware her job was viewed with disdain. One day, an ugly old man came to her. Once their business was done, the woman asked for his hand in marriage. He began to cry, for though he was king, no one had ever loved him. The prostitute became queen of the land, but soon after the ceremony, the king was felled by his own heart, leaving her with untold fortune and all of his political power. The woman had been so close to happiness, but now her beloved was gone. Thus, she took up his spear, the last memento of her husband, and fled the palace forever. This stands out to me since the woman in the story was so close to happiness only for it to be cruelly stripped away from her. Conjurer's Staff. No known magic could cure the little girl's disease. Her only joys were the nightly visits from a nameless masked conjurer who came to her with a magical staff in hand. The conjurer shared his arcane talents with her. One night, a shower of glittering light. The next, an orchestra of tiny songbirds. Another, the arc of a dazzling rainbow. Yet the disease slowly consumed the girl's body. One night, when her time was near, she smiled at the conjurer and thanked him. Then she grew cold and smiled no more. The conjurer had been forbidden from showing magic to others, but when he returned and confessed that he'd taken the staff without permission, his master told him to keep it. That night, the conjurer clutched the staff tightly and wept bitter tears. This story really stood out to me because it's very, sweet, but also sad at the same time. It's a bittersweet story. Bloodworm's Flame. It had lived long. Sometimes it seemed it had lived for all the time in the world. The usual cycle of life and death being little more than a farce. Its slow, heavy body was old and wizened. It had witnessed countless lives kindle and then extinguish in the blink of an eye. It had lived with the heart it was losing bit by bit. It had forgotten how to roar, or gnash, or fly into a rage. The flames of war raged on in an endless stream of conquest and slaughter and death. In the face of this unchanging flow of history, the dragon finally grew weary of living. Any story from a dragon's point of view is cool and insightful, in my opinion. Crimson Impalers. The monster's body was covered in terrible spines. One day, a small bird landed nearby and spoke with the monster. More than anything, the monster wished to touch its new friend. Soon, the monster decided to remove the spines, though it caused terrible pain. The monster screamed for 7 days and nights, terrorizing villagers at the foot of the range. The villagers feared the monster was going to invade, so on the 7th night, they climbed the mountain with weapons in hand, where they found a pile of bloody spines. In the center of the pile was a strange creature that had died during the night. By its side, a small bird with red-stained wings gently nuzzled the creature and cried. Captain's Guard. I have gladly pledged loyalty to the king across time. No matter how hellish the fight or reckless the order, I have risked all to protect king and country. But the king has lost his life in battle. He was young, a newly crowned lord. He left behind no descendants. Who will I ever serve now? Wailing over such things will achieve nothing. My only job is to protect my country. My only mission is to serve my king. So I search. I search for a new body to replace the long shattered muscle and bone that resides in this armor. I search for a new king, worthy of wearing me. I think this is a really cool twist that it's the weapon speaking. Mana's staff. All I know is a loss. An empty body with something great and substantial missing. I fill the hole the only way I can, and turn my eyes from the emptiness that wells up. I know little of what I was. The curious, small child, the lily-white skin, the confused expression as the question was asked. Do the watchers sing? Fear drives me forward. The darkness that laps at my feet, the fate I can never flee from. I scream out loud that I cannot let it take me. I cannot let it take me. All that remains is my memory, the steely gaze that fixed itself forward through the youth and inexperience and confusion, the gaze that will someday open a new path. And finally, one's chakra. I am the first, and as my name suggests, I should have been the only. My foolish sister invites destruction, and I will give her a suitably foolish end. Our mission is to guide this world, to move it down the correct path. I know what I hoped for, what I lost, what I took, what I sought. I knew that I would soon gain full knowledge of the song that coursed through me. But is that really true? How can I be sure that everything we know is correct? Now it's finally time to tackle Branch D. After some narration from Accord, we start off in the land of mountains, with all the disciples in tow. Zero's gearing up to put an end to everything, and has a conversation with Mikhail about his draconic instincts to destroy the flower, and the intoners by extension, which seems to have grown stronger. Over the course of the upcoming mission, Zero seems to be getting more easily fatigued, with only Octa seeming to catch on that the flower is draining her life. We find Four, who seems to have completely lost her marbles, dancing around and claiming she'll be the one to end the world, with Zero stating she's been possessed by the flower now. She summons Zophael, which seems to be another demonic dragon, despite looking almost identical to Gabriel. Normally the intoners shouldn't be able to summon these kinds of dragons, only one is meant to be capable of such a feat. Four mentions that she used to imitate Zero in an effort to be more like her, but the latter quickly shuts this down, saying that this never happened. I have the belief that all aside from one think they had some sort of prior history with Zero and she suddenly betrayed them out of nowhere, whereas in reality she probably spent very little time with them after their creation, and these are false memories created by the flower. Next we go to the forest to find Three, and it's nice to see the back and forth between Zero and Mikhail becoming more tender. The soldiers are also losing themselves, and in a twist we see what looks like a zombified Five, who's brought back from the dead by the flower. Summoning these corpse soldiers in the form of her angel, Gagliel? I can't remember if that's how you pronounce it. And of course Dido is having the time of his life and switches sides. We get a cool angel-on-angel battle in the background with Fanuel and Egrigori, whilst we take care of Five and her minions, the priority being the latter when Five starts chowing down on them to restore health. She manages to express some genuine love to Zero in what seems to be a non-Kuma fashion, but she has to be cut down regardless. Dido and Cent need to pay the price of summoning an angel without an intoner. Dido is devoed since he wanted to hang out here in Corpsetopia, but Cent is pretty pleased to go since he's without two. As the game goes on, Accord seems to be growing quite attached to Zero, and the way Octa looks at the camera here, like, really got a chuckle from me. I don't know why it took me a second to click on what was obviously going on, but there you go. The group look for 3 in the Land of Sands, and we get this lovely ballad by Mikhail.
My name is Mikhail, my name is Mikhail. I really love me some Zero. I'm not a stinky dragon, nor am I a dirty dragon. Hop on my back and let's go for a ride. Yay! It's time for verse 2. My name is Mikhail, my name is Mikhail. I also love me some rotten meat. Give me praise, give me praise, give me praise, give me praise. Telling me I'm the bestest. Hop on my back and let's fly through the sky. Yay!
Hey.
Huh?
There better not be a third verse.
3's managed to get her mitts on Azrael, an ancient dragon, and Mikhail's hesitation fighting it reminds me of when Kaim and Angelus did the same in the first game, and Angelus was hesitant to fight the ancient dragon there. It keeps zipping around rapidly, and so Decadus summons Armoros to keep it held down, sacrificing himself so Zero can win. With just Octa remaining, Zero decides to tell the whole story regarding her, the flower, and her sisters, and we get a mission set in the past. I adore that the sound effects are mostly muted, there's only black and white visuals, and we only really get Zero's narration in the background song, Kuroi Ta. Honestly, I find Zero so compelling as a lead. With what she's had to deal with, she owed the world absolutely fucking nothing, but she actively goes out of her way to protect it. The reason, to me, doesn't matter. Part of it probably is a fuck you to the flower, but I don't think that's all there is to her. It's shown she has the capacity to care, buried through layers of trust issues, shown most prominently with Michael and eventually Mikhail. I think that fact alone is very telling that deep down, she is ultimately a good person.
Pretty shit deal.
We're back at Cathedral City, and after a gauntlet of enemies for good measure, we come up against one, and I kind of get where she's coming from, but I always felt the criticism of Zero was too harsh. Zero had no idea the flower would create the intoners when she chose to try and take her own life, and once she realised, she immediately set out to fix it.
Recording M5310 E0040 GM. The flower's defenses created 5 sisters from Zero's body. At first, they were simply corpses controlled by the flower. But soon they gained self-awareness and began to act of their own free will. If the flower isn't destroyed, mankind has no future in this branch. Some of us are of the opinion that this branch should be sealed off at once, but I disagree. I think at least one of them might be able to accomplish it. No, I should stop. I'll erase this entry and hand the recording off to the next pass in its current state. End recording.
After the fight, even with Octa's sacrifice to summon Armicile to hold her in place, one song is too powerful, and in comes Accord with her funny run and phone the size of her head to come and clutch, and give Zero an opening to finish the remaining sister, but at the cost of her own life. Split in half, it's revealed Accord is an android, created in the old world, and unable to continue her task, Zero grants her some well-earned rest.
Good night, Accord. Tell the whole world I said hi.
With her sisters now dead, Zero's absorbed the power they originally siphoned off her. The time has finally come to put an end to the flower, by letting it bloom and Mikhail ending Zero's life. Bless him, it's obvious that this is incredibly hard on him. But he, and Michael by extension, made a promise to her and intended to keep it. Zero finally praises him, telling him how strong he's become with a genuine smile. If you've seen the final boss of Drakengard 1, this will look familiar. It's a rhythm game, with Zero having taken on a form reminiscent of the Queen Beast. As it goes on, her sisters rise from the giant flower petals, complete with their own song tempo, and the camera just fucking with you in increasingly obnoxious ways. At least you only have one button to worry about, there's no change between black and white notes, but it's still really, really challenging. It gets to a point where you'll just need to go off sound cues as best as you can, because you can't rely on visual aid. And thank God I knew about the sneaky last note during the fade to black dialogue sequence, otherwise I might have gone insane. I do not want to admit how long it took me to finish this boss, but it was a long ass time. It was not fun. But after a final, tender goodbye between Zero and Mikhail,
I had a lot of fun. With you, I mean. It was fun being with you. The killing was hard. It was really hard. But
Stop repeating things.
getting to be with you, Zero, getting to eat next to you, getting to fly around with you, getting to have you yell at me, and then getting to be friends again. It was really, really fun.
I'm glad. Mikhail,
Yeah?
it's almost time.
Okay.
he flies into the center of the flower, with a chord confirming over narration that the flower's threat has been removed from this branch, but that the seal could be undone at some point in the future. She mentions that she has a feeling that somehow her and Zero will encounter each other again someday, and I think this, along with the design, is why some believe that the Queen Beast is Zero, fully consumed by the flower. I personally disagree with this. My headcanon is the god/the flower just takes on this form independently as the strongest threat it can conjure. The credits run with this beautiful song, This Silence Is Mine. I'm of the belief this track is, in a sense, a direct declaration from Zero herself. After a life of pain and suffering, she's finally been granted relief and rest, and it's something she's claimed for herself proudly. After the credits, we see a bunch of accords, which does track since she's an android, it's fair there's more than one, and explains the others we've seen over the course of the game, giving us one last message.
I hope to see you again someday. But until then, I'd like to say thank you for playing.
Drakengard 3 is one of the strangest games I've ever gone through. There's so many parts to it that I love, and parts that I find kinda horrid. As multifaceted and complex as the characters can be, some dialogue or character quirks can be really repetitive. And to address the elephant in the room, the performance. The combat itself is decently fun, but unless you're playing on an emulator, the frame rate is fucking abysmal. I'm genuinely a guy that really does not care that much about frame rates, but it can get into the single digits on a native PS3. Like, you kind of need to play this on an emulator with at least a stable frame rate of 30 FPS. I think some concepts with the intoners weren't explored as far as they can be. It is mentioned that each intoner has a part of their body that grows infinitely. 1 is the exception, she stopped growing at a certain point. 2, her strength. 3, her hair, which is why she has her scissors. 4, her nails. And 5, her honkers. But unless you went out of your way to look this up, you wouldn't understand that in the main game. This could have been a part of their character or part of their boss fights when they're going crazy. The growth of that they specialize in gets completely out of control, or 1 starts growing smaller or something when she's getting out of control at the end of the story. That, and story-wise, the elephant in the room, apparently the true ending is in a fucking side novel. I didn't know that until researching this. Why? I do think that it's a genuine shame more people didn't get a chance to play this, though. I feel like a port to modern consoles with a stable frame rate would leave people with a much more positive impression. But this will definitely not be a title for everyone, and whilst I still prefer the Nier games, Drakengard 3 is my favourite of the 3 Drakengard titles, and it's a game that I won't forget about anytime soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And please tell me what your thoughts are on Drakengard 3. Did you enjoy it? Did you play it on a native PS3 and you couldn't deal with the performance? What are your thoughts on the characters? Please let me know. But until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.